Gaming with Boomers. Yeah. Welcome back, Boomer family, to another episode of Not Gaming with Boomers. This is the second in our series on how to adopt feral cats, as in strays. Today's episode is going to cover how to actually capture a stray cat. I don't like the word capture, but I don't know how else to put it. In fact, you may hear a stray in the background. Our mama cat Emmy is sitting here next to me and purring away, so you may be hearing from her on occasion. So basically, we want to give you the how-tos on what equipment you'll need and what the process is for trapping a stray or strays so that you can bring them into your home and get them acclimated and adopted. So first of all, you're going to have to make the decision that this is going to be some time and effort and probably frustration. And there's some prep work you're going to have to do. You can't just see a stray cat wandering your neighborhood and figure you'll put a trap out and you've got it and that's it. You can do it that way. You can put a trap out, bait it, and then capture it and immediately yank it into your home. The better way to go about it is, and the way we went about it is, we put some food out for a significant amount of time, basically, almost a month, depending on how wild the cat is. You're going to find that some of these strays that you come across were previously owned, absolutely will be more friendly, come up to you, be suspicious and cautious because, you're not their human, but you can tell that they have been exposed to humans who have been kind to them at some point. So they won't be just like a wild animal, run whenever they see you or hear you. So depending on what level of feral your cat is that you're aiming to adopt is how long it's going to take them to get acclimated to you at all, even outside. So the best thing to do is to designate an area in your yard. Ours was our bottom deck that led out to the backyard, and we had a tree line, so the cats would kind of have a nesting area back in our tree line, we figured. So we put dry food and clean water out and changed it regularly and put it out on the deck. And also, because there were windows out onto the deck, we could see and observe them as they came and went, and they could see us through the window as they were feeding and eventually resting on the deck, sunning themselves and things like that, after they became more acclimated to the fact that there's a food and water source there that is safe, that they're not going to get attacked while they're feeding. So, and then that was a way for us to observe them. They could see us through the window. They knew we were there. At first they would run when they saw us, but then they realized, okay, well, I can come feed and not be quite so threatened. We would start even by maybe putting the food out off of the deck and then slowly moving it onto the deck, further, closer to the house on the deck, closer to the door and windows on the deck. So they got used to seeing us and us being closer, but without being, with the door and windows walls between us and them. Then once they had acclimated at least to our presence, then we would go to the length of baiting a trap and putting it out. And I'm posting I'll put up some pictures of live animal traps. They're pretty straightforward. They're a cage, powder-coated cage with a trigger pan, which is the metal plate you're seeing in this that's flipped up. When you load it, that trigger pan is down flat. They walk across it and then it trips and that pan flips up and cuts off their exit in that end that they came in. And then the other end, usually you can also has a latch, and you let them out that way. Now, we did not have a live animal trap when we went to go and trap our strays. Our vet that did the cut rate spaying and neutering provided live animal traps. We had to put down a $50 deposit, maybe more than that. And we got that back when we returned the cage to them. And what we would do is put the cage out, trap the animal, bring the animal, cage and all, to them. They would sedate the animal through the cage and spay or neuter them, and then we would get the cat back while it was coming, before it came out of sedation, and then would put it into the area of our home where we had designated them to acclimate to the house and to us, a small room or, some area. So basically what you do is, once you know your cat, the cat you're aiming to adopt is somewhat acclimated to you enough, you go ahead and you put the live trap out with something in it that is pretty irresistible. Tuna, chicken, something like that is an extra special treat. That is, especially tuna, nice and stinky. It's going to draw them. And hopefully you won't trap other animals as well. But that worked for us. And the only thing I don't like about live traps is that when the trigger pan trips and that metal plate flips up, it's really loud. We could hear it in our house with everything closed. That's how we knew we'd gotten them. And that is not something I like for the cat, because they're already all of a sudden trapped based on this really super loud noise. They can't get out. The other thing and this is what our vet recommended, is don't immediately go and grab that trigger, that cage, and start yanking it in the house and doing other things. The best thing to do is to leave the cat in the trap where it is, and you will have wanted to set it up someplace that is a little bit sheltered. Our deck had a deck above it, so it was a little bit sheltered from the weather, especially if there's bad weather coming, and just leave the cat in there to settle down. Quite often the trap would trip in the evening, and we would just let the cat stay there overnight, and we would grab the trap in the morning and bring it to the vet, so that they just had some time to just settle down and realize, yes, they're incarcerated, but nobody's going to come hurt them in the immediate. You just want to give them that time to settle down. And then what we would do is take the trap to the vet, like I said, have them sedate them through the trap, and then have them fixed, and we would come get them and bring them to the area we had already ready in the house, so that they could then acclimate from there. And I didn't really like doing it that way, although there really isn't an alternative. That is the best alternative, is to go ahead and have them fixed immediately after they're trapped, before you bring them to the home. I don't like that they came into our home after having surgery, and so physically uncomfortable, hurting, and all of that, so terrified and all of that. But I believe, after all of the times that we have adopted strays, that is the best way to do it. Get all of the trauma over at the beginning, rather than try to grab them and then bring them to the vet for a surgical procedure, once they start trusting you and getting used to you. So that, we feel, is the best way to do it. Make sure that the vet that you plan on using is okay with treating ferals. Our regular vet is not. She treats them now that they're tame, but we had to get them acclimated first. Until then, we took them to our wild vet, the farm vet who does the cut rate fixing. So don't assume that your normal vet or your neighborhood vet is okay with treating a feral. They are a whole different kettle of fish, and they are not easy to treat quite often, and especially at first. So make sure you source a willing vet to begin with. And quite often these animals also at the same time, they're going to be examined as well, and make sure that they're treated for any wounds or illnesses they might have before you get them back as well. So that is basically the trapping part of the process. You can try, that is not the only way we had cats come into our home. We had strays that had been owned and they were easy. We just let them in the door. One was, my son was working at Northern Tool, and there was an abandoned kitty who had gotten into the store, and so we adopted that kitty, and all I had to do was call to her and put her in the carrier. She was more than willing. We adopted a stray that was a stray outside of a Wendy's, and I saw him running around the parking lot starving. I opened up the van door, offered him some chicken. He hopped in and settled right into a seat, and we brought him home. He'd been abandoned at Christmas, and he'd been there at least a week, so we knew he was not owned by anybody, but he had been. So those are the easy ones. We had a flat out stray. We know it was because one of our stray mama cats, it was one of her kittens. So this cat was pregnant, and when she went into labor, she had come to the deck for food and water. And so we know she knew us from when she was a kitten, but she wasn't approachable until she got pregnant really early, like they do, and came to us when she went into labor. And when she went into labor, she came to the door, the front door. I opened up the door, she came in and meowed at me. It was like she knew that she needed help, and she knew that we were her chance for help. So we brought her in. I was able to pick her up and bring her to the area that we get the cats acclimated and set up a birthing area for her, and she was with us from that day till she passed. That happened also before we moved here. There was a stray mama cat who hung out on our patio, and when she went into labor, she came to the back patio door. I opened it up. She came in and gave birth on our dog's pillow in the living room, which did not thrill our dog. So it is possible for flat out strays to come to trust you and look for help. They could be injured, and rather than run, they come to you for help. If you set yourself up as a non-threat and a source of food and water and soft voice, and that is the key. Never, never, never yell at your kitties. Even once they're in and acclimated and they're your baby and everything and tame, do not yell at cats. I can tell you all it's going to do is make them suspicious. They aren't going to go, oh, I guess I did this or that wrong. And it is just going to damage your relationship with them. So talk to them normal, explain what's what. I'll get into that one too, about how much cats understand. Excuse me. So the trap isn't your only choice, but it's the smartest one, especially if you need to get that cat fixed. So that is it for this video. I didn't explain in as much detail as I can. Where can you get the traps? I would check first, like I said, with your vet or with the local animal shelter. Sometimes they'll lend them to you. Try not to have an outside source do it, like animal control. It's you want to kind of. I mean, if that's the way you're going to do it, that's fine. But you want to do as much of this as you can yourself, so you can guarantee that they're not more traumatized than they need to be. So, but you can go to your local vet or shelter to borrow a trap, get one on loan, or you can get them for about $25 or so on the internet. I'm not sure what brick and mortars have them, but I'm sure many of them do. So that is basically it for this video, and there will be more coming. My next video might be about what to do right when you get them in the house and you get them back from, having been fixed, and what our experience has been. And it's run the gamut from, boy, that was easy, to holy crud, that was challenging. So thank you for being part of our Boomer family, our cat-loving, animal-loving family. Again, Please tell us your story of your babies. They don't have to be strays. It doesn't have to be a dramatic capture story. I want to hear all about your little fuzzy babies or your babies, however you would like, because you're family and we love you. So thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Love you.